Hello, everybody. We are back here with another review of Raw. Just goddamn, why you gotta suck? Just why? It can't be that difficult. It can't be that difficult to make a show this terrible. With the substitution of literally getting rid of like half of your own main roster. Controversial decisions over social media restrictions that I think are understandable, but a bit questionable in some sense. Uh, Over all this crap, you want me to watch the main event of Monday Night Raw against a jobber against a kid that has barely even had a handful of matches? We had three on-stream attacks by Drew McIntyre, obviously trying to get back at Randy Orton. I'm a badass. I'm a badass because Scottish accents sound a bit funny, and it sounds like I'm always gargling something. And we had, of course, the only conflicting stuff. I felt like SmackDown was way better than Raw at this point. And for the last several months, SmackDown has been a piece of garbage, not even paying attention on their own Money in the Bank winner, in a crap feud against two super tall, fat jobbers feuding over the world's worst world's championship. The FTW World Title is more prestigious than this. The Divas Championship is more prestigious than this. Tommy Dreamer's rendition of the hardcore belt looks more prestigious and beautiful than anything the Universal Championship has to offer. And I'll mean that until the day I die. I'd rather hold the gift of the gods belt, and we don't even know when Lucha Underground is freaking coming back. Just none of what this show had hit in any way, sense, or form. The best thing was we had two multi-man matches that were the same people, except somehow of the Viking Raiders have some fixation with black people. They've been in a 2-month rivalry feud, yet they're baby faces with the Street Profits, and they've always affiliated with something Apollo, Ricochet, or Cedric does. Oh, Cedric turned heel. That cares to only like one guy that's part of your friend group that always stays in the background when you guys are watching something in the living room. This show was mediocre. They did a third match with Randy Orton and Keith Lee to bring some semblance of TV time. Let Keith Lee build up his character. Let him job some of your jobbers. Let him beat Murphy. Let him beat Ricochet. Let him beat Kevin Owens. Let him beat somebody else. This is his third match. And this time it had a no finish, just like it did in the first time fighting with him, just to have it on pay-per-view. So you just diminish any sense of already a shit pay-per-view like Payback to have any meaning. Over the conclusion of what? The only thing was to set up a rematch with Orton against McIntyre. And to get a bit of Keith Lee over. You have him looking like them old brownies with those whatever candies on it that you get in a 99-cent store. Like, this show was just any semblance of trying to do any certain build. I don't mind the semblance. I mean, the idea of trying to tease over Cedric joining the faction. But in my opinion, I feel like Lashley should be holding the world title. I have no care in the world that he holds the U.S. title. In the sense of Shelton Benjamin's bland ass being like, we can't trust Cedric. Over MVP influencing him to join the faction for the last few months. And we don't even know what's even an asset. Like, nobody ever brings a semblance of assets. Sorry that I paused that other part, but what's the asset ability that not Lashley and Benjamin can do? Benjamin can lift people while doing athletically gifted stuff. Lashley can literally powerbomb 300-pounders. The best thing Cedric can do is flips. And he's feuding with Ricochet. It's because he calls himself the one and only. I'm skipping segments because they are so bad. They are so bad. So after Randy Orton going over the fractured skull, My facial expressions never change for the last 15 years. Going over him punting over McIntyre's head, him coming back over an ambulance truck. I have to say, over most of what I've watched, that has to be the most overused thing probably in history of Raw. Like the ambulance truck return after a major injury, but it wasn't that major. I think he comes back like under a month later. So they did the same thing with McIntyre. I think they did the same thing with Cena, Kane, Bray, Ambrose years back. Many other guys that just undervalues the finisher that took out legends already. He beat Edge clean with it. So I don't understand. Over, you could just sell the factor. We don't have to have McIntyre weekly on TV if it's not going to build up too much, except the same assaults with him just showing off his biceps whenever Adam Pearce should be fired. By the way, if you guys weren't paying attention on SmackDown, over what happened with the contract signing with Roman, and we don't even know his default position. Is he commissioner? Is he GM? Is he president of any roster affairs or anything? I like a source of authoritarian because it brings up order and it brings up logic for what a wrestler does, and it brings up that this is a show. I don't want an impromptu six-man tag. I mean, a six-man tag turned into an impromptu eight-man tag, all because these guys hate each other. It makes zero sense, and it's wasting airtime. Especially if these people already saw it. What's the difference? Ricochet gonna use two fingers on his butt this time when he's doing a tope suicida? I'm not impressed. So McIntyre came back and beat up on Orton. He gave him a Claymore kick in his match against Keith Lee later in the afternoon. That's all you have to hear about that. It was such an overused thing. It undervalued being punt kicked 3 times. And over the history of the punt kick, even back when it was banned, like 2010, it it took out Jericho out of TV until December 11th. We understand this because of Fozzy, but kayfabe-wise, people would understand it because they don't care about Fozzy. That, oh God, we haven't seen Jericho since like the summer. It is now December 2011. I, I mean November, I think, but I think it was December. Whatever. That was months of release, changing up his character, doing all this stuff with him, and it built up the punt kick as being a devastating move and near career ender if you're not endured enough. Orton did this when McIntyre has been completely blindsided. Seriously, someone asked Alex Caruso to be a valet or some shit, because all she does is just randomly does interviews. It demolishes any source of, getting a character over or doing a decent promo. It just feels like she just does it. I know you just came out the bathroom, Angelo. Yo, what the hell, dog? So, next we had Apollo Crews, Ricochet, and Cedric Alexander against the Hurt Business that had black people. I'm sorry, that MVP, Lashley, and Shelton Benjamin. So the match was meh. But obviously had the offense primarily coming off Lashley with some shoulder tackles, a belly to belly. There was some semblance of separation going upon the ring until Cedric came out of nowhere, hitting off. And this is like not building up a heel dynamic, especially thinks we don't even know the growth of relationship, other than these guys are friends. It immediately hits him on the barricade and apron and cost him the match. Pater was hit on Apollo after he hit a lumbar check. So that was the finish. I guess that's something because at least it brings up a character shift. But you at least build up an 8-man tag probably next week. That's like, they did like 3 segments in the semblance of what could have taken place in 3 weeks. You could have had a heel turn early in the night. Next week, you could have had the interview with some interference coming from Apollo, Ricochet, and the Viking Raiders for some reason. I guess because they are cool with black people. And of course, next week, you could have had an 8-man tag. And probably you could have had some kind of dumb feud involving Ricochet and Cedric. Or at least a rematch. I mean, something consisting with the U.S. title, but everybody's involved. Something like that contorts drama and it builds up at least something, even though I don't care about these guys. Why were they pushing so much over the window to push 3 hours? If you wanted to, with that dumbass retribution segment, what about you just revolve a major invading faction in the show? So dumb, man. And people like you get too hard on the show. You should try. You should more. You should respect the work rate. You should respect the wrestlers, dude. We're not even we're in an interbrand pay per view, but it ain't the major four pay per views. Why the hell are they trying to tease an interbrand title for title match? It's probably gonna end in DQ. The Street Profits face off against Andrade and Garza. The only thing I under is like can tolerate from these matches were they were short. They were short, sweet, and to the point. That's the only thing I'll give by the most of the show. So Garza was having consistent arguments when he was just going one-on-one with Montez Ford. As soon as he kept having arguments with Lita Vega and Andrade, he walked away. So it looks like their whole thing was completely done. The Hispanic faction is over. I'm trying to think of something. I want to make them the Mexicools 2.0 with some semblance of their better wrestlers, but they're not. I like Super Crazy and Juventud better than I do these guys. But at least Garza has some semblance of character. He left a huge attack by Dawkins, and then a frog splash that was way too high, especially for a major show. Like even for Raw, that's supposed to be weekly. Like leave those frog splashes for like the pay-per-views. But that's it. After that, Cesaro Nakamura came over to issue an interbrand challenge, trying to think that the smoke catchphrase we want the smoke catchphrase was that over. They try to steal it for themselves. It's not. It's annoying. It's boring, and I hate these guys. With freaking Shinsuke Nakamura looking like Ip Man, had a gay phase, looked like Edward Scissorhands. Didn't know how to give neck. It's that bad. Cesaro tried to bring some semblance of seriousness, and it was fine. I mean, it's better off they unify the title because literally nearly every tag team broke up except the Street Profits and Viking Raiders. Like, God, we don't have Garza and Andrade anymore. We don't have Ricochet and Cedric. That was just these guys are both black and they can flip. Put them in a tag team together because I don't think we don't know how to make top mid carders anymore. So yeah, that was the segment. Next up, we of course had Billy Kay against Peyton Royce. Listen, I didn't mind this, and this was an okay match. I'm still a bit conflicted that Billy Kay had started a Gold Dust finisher. Uh, the match was fine over some semblance of storytelling. They did have a nice hug in the end. Some knees, okay, back and forth. You know that Peyton Royce is gonna win because she had the better theme song. They were like generic poppy songs that they used like in the 2010s when they had a terrible women's roster. And I hope. I mean, in my opinion, I don't think Billie Kay should go back to being a wrestler. I think she would play a wonderful manager. Her voice is that annoying, and she has a decent figure to at least some because we have a lack of managers or valets other than Zelina Vega on Raw with Andrade, and even that has like a weird dynamic. Because other than that, he doesn't play off of her right, and most of Andrade's dialect of he's slow and he will win, and he can only do promos minimum of 10 words, even though you're dating English like a woman from the U.S. So you should be able to speak a clear sentence, or else you wouldn't be having sex with Ric Flair's daughter. But that's besides the point. Forgettable match, but I'm excited to see what Peyton Royce could do. Billie Kay should have a managerial position. That's just my opinion. She just has the look of it. Next up, we had Dominic and Murphy electrify on the mic. And what I mean that is, I accept your challenge. La Familia? Ray, Dad, shut up. And Murphy just come out of nowhere. It's like blaming him for Rollins leaving him high and dry. Like, do you really care that this tiny dick, leather wearing douchebag comes around like leaving you for dead? I don't really care. Murphy challenges him to a street fight with, of course, Dominic accepting because he's not a coward. All they need is Chavo Guerrero, and we have probably the blandest build up for a babyface ever. Dominic should just go to NXT. He has no promo. His character just revolves around that Rey Mysterio is his father. He obviously is not that built. That's why he has to cover up his body looking like All Might themed Lucha Underground gear. It, it just felt so bland, and I have no interest in seeing Murphy job out to a kid that had barely even had a handful of matches in his time in the WWE already. I mean, I get that Ray's trying to do his best to make sure that his children have the best position in the company, and I like Rey Mysterio, but you need to start small before you start big. Get him on NXT for a bit, or put him on Evolve, or get him on some shit in Mexico, to at least he can learn the ropes or something. Because he's not that bad of a wrestler, but he's on the sign of he really needs experienced guys to carry him. But that's just my opinion. I'm not that excited to watch this match at all. Next up, we had Mickie James and Asuka face off against Natalya and Lana. Of course, Natalya. I mean, Asuka and Mickie James won. What were you expecting? Ended up with that DDT counters using of course Asuka's butt. That's always the best thing. Natalya bringing some semblance of technical ability into the match with Lana just having terrible hot tags because she can't wrestle. Stick to manager work, please, without you screaming. And yeah, that was pretty much it. It ended up with Mickie James getting the self tag. Then Asuka came with the self tag, hitting her kick on. I think it was Natalya. Lana took the Asuka lock. That was it. Asuka and Mickie James are the winners. I'm at least excited to see the match with Asuka and Mickie James. I think that they're going to be fine, and at least they're bringing up some legitimacy, other than Mickie James just being everybody's random friend. At least make her still keep the lesbian gimmick, because at least that brought some attention to the women's division. Who didn't want to see a hot woman kissing Trish Stratus? I will slap you if you say no. That's at least something to get excited for next week. I don't care about anything else, man. I'm being serious. They can't build, man. They can't build anything anymore. What's wrong with them? I'm not gonna blame Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon just hired the people that he think are uh, good for the job, and it's just the people who can't deliver. And these are trained professionals that obviously have outside work and other means of entertainment. So you shan't be blaming Vince McMahon for this. I don't know where that comes from. I don't. Next up, we have Cedric Alexander. He got his own Hurt Business shirt that said "I'm in," with of course Benjamin over Alexander's promo over all this time not trusting him. And I don't even know where this comes from. I think freaking Cedric is just the dog of the faction that just doesn't like whenever a new dog comes in. And it ended up with just the Street Profits. I mean, no, the Viking Raiders coming out. Apollo that has the worst theme song I think I've seen in a while. I'd rather hear is dun 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 dun. At least it was catchy. And Ricochet that didn't wash his hands. Tell me to stop. Just tell me to stop, and I'll stop with the butt jokes. And it ended up with a brawl. As soon as I walked out of my room, I walked back in. They had an 8-man tag match, and it was supposed to make some semblance of heat into Cedric in this new attitude, doing the same moves, same moveset, doing drop kicks. There's a basic Hurricane Rana. Eric still doing that dumb knee thing. It Lashley had some moves, is obviously escaping from the Viking experience. Ricochet came with some his hot tag that was okay. Ricochet's a fun guy to watch. He just has no charisma to match his fun, his uh, his amazing athleticism, and that comes in like most of what we have in this amazing roster that's better than Attitude Era roster that at least you remember everybody on the roster and Ruthless Aggression roster that I can even name the most forgettable guys. Alexander came with a neutralizer kick and just some enziguris. A Michinoku driver that looked a bit like he slipped off a bit for the win. So Cedric won, proving himself for the Hurt Business, winning this match. That was about it. So we had 3 segments that could have been at least weeks for a build for us to care any source for this match. An 8-man tag match after we just had a 6-man tag. So it just looks completely dumb. And it devalued the sense of a 6-man tag, and people have been having complaints with the overuse of 6-man tags. And we only had a problem with that when that was just the main event. It had no either ideas. No other ideas. Next up, we had Keith Lee against Randy Orton for the 3rd time in a row. Keith Lee, the best spot was him countering the RKO just off sure will, just holding himself, just holding his knees to make sure he doesn't go down. Amazing Northern Lights suplex. He just treats Randy like a freaking rag doll. It ended up off a DQ when McIntyre came out of nowhere getting another Claymore kick after legit like 6 segments to be like, don't get in the show. You don't get in the show like Uber, like escort the nigga out. Like, what's this guy's position? He should be responsible for everything if he's able to give this many orders. And he just comes out of nowhere. He has no semblance of character or anything. Adam Pearce just looks like a retarded Joey Mercury. There's no reason why he's here, other than bring some authoritative figure. If he wanted to, just bring bland ass Stephanie McMahon. Actually, don't do that. I mean, bring back somebody. I don't know, man. It ended up with McIntyre hitting him with another Claymore kick in the middle of some ring inside the room. That's the most I'm going to speak about the segment. I don't care about the rivalry. All I wanted to see is just Orton just punt kick him and win back the world title. Because I feel like McIntyre has been holding the belt for a bit too long, and he hasn't bring any source of importance. I mean, it's good to have that in your career. I didn't mind you as world champion. I just want to see it out at this point. And it just doesn't bring up any source of menacingness if Orton doesn't even feel that threatening of the move. But I think they have this much inconsistency of trying to book a heel looking dangerous and a babyface looking like durable. It just looks completely poor. And you just made just the mystique or at least any source of. I understand you want to make Keith Lee into one of the topper heavyweights. I get it. Just let him have squash matches. At least his move set is actually versatile. You don't mind who he faces. You just know his move set is cool. Unlike Braun Strowman, that he just pushes guys and he runs around the ring so he can shoulder tackle them. And he does his power slam. And he does a drop kick. Remember when he dressed as Wonder Woman? Oh, he's so quirky, but he's big. It's dumb. And next up we had, I think we also had Kevin Owens against Aleister Black on Raw Underground. Then Kevin Owens had exchange of words with Shane, obviously, because of course they had a multi-month feud. Kevin as the babyface over Shane McMahon having the most screen time. Even though, in my opinion, I didn't mind Shane McMahon being the most attention on the show. He wasn't the major problem. Sure, I think he had uh, a bit too much of a focus, but at least it had a focus. At least it had a major heel. At least it gave me at least some reason to watch SmackDown. The ladder match was stupid. So I think the match went without a finish. They both went down and just continuously brawled. It ended up with no finish. So not even Aleister Black, that has an MMA background, gets over. Tommy N. I'm still confused, so conflicted with that name. We had a handicap match involving the Riot Squad, that I hate them together, against Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler in a handicap match. So Shayna Baszler goes first, and then Nia Jax goes second. They even talked to Adam Pearce about this backstage, and it's so dumb. You don't even. So the baby faces agree to a handicap match, and then you don't even finish the second match to just bring some semblance and believe in the retribution. They finally have the graphics everywhere. It looks dumb. I don't even care about these vanilla midgets. They don't even show up on the major pay-per-view of the year out of SummerSlam to even make that message a bit more impactful. You you do it in a pee break match like Riot Squad against Shayna Baszler. That looks like all she wears is eyeshadow and slaps her face with vegetable oil. And you have Nia Jax that just, I might just get another comment, so I'm not going to continue. So, after that, we had some kicks, stomps to the hand. It ended off Nia Jax distracting Shayna, talking too much trash. Ended up in a schoolboy, and then Nia Jax gets in a match. She does absolutely nothing except some moves, a slam. It just looked completely bland. It just fell out of nowhere and just felt like they were out of ideas, especially for handicap matches that are supposed to get some person into a disadvantage. How is this in a disadvantage if both of them could just distract one of the partners and cause a win? These are supposedly still heels, and the match was fine. Nothing. It was just an absolute nothing with a no finish. Like as soon as they were gonna go to the three, they immediately just blackened out, and they just had retribution with their bland ass promo. Over at least they have two guys that look 6 foot. I don't care about the three she-males they have and some random dude that looks like Mojo Rawley. I think that's Mojo Rawley. And I think that's the big, tall, black ninja. I'm not being racist. The tall ninja that they had with Akira Tozawa. I don't think they even had an Raw Truth segment that night. It was so bland, it just felt like the match had no meaning if they were just going to interrupt it. We had our main event being Dominic versus Murphy. That's our main event, folks. This is Monday Night Raw. This is our main event. This is how much they really devalued most of the top feel on a 3-hour programming. They have their own outside brawls, some Hurricane Ranas, a big a big high knee off Murphy to stop some momentum off Dominic. Kendo sticks came into play with Mysterio and Dominic later on in the match. So a payback to like a month ago when Dominic got battered with Rollins and Murphy with kendo sticks. Dominic got hit to the announce table with a knee. The T is over, shoving the steps to the eye, like that really even gets a person out of commission. And that was about it. Rey Mysterio said that Payback was a bitch to Rollins on the camera. He said some dumb shit on Twitter. His daughter and his mother came around hitting him with kendo sticks. And Dominic won. Can we end this feud already? Like, please, end the feud. Who's supposed to get over? Do I really care about little Samoa Joe getting over? I don't care that much about the Cedric Alexander heel turn. I don't want these reviews to be 30 minutes again. Please, I don't want them. It's just, it's poor. This was a really bad show. It's got a 3 out of 10 for me, man. The only thing was some of the matches were serviceable time except the dumb main event. That's a street fight. What was the storytelling conflicted on other than dumb payback? So they're probably going to have another match of Clash of Champions. You undervalued the punt kick. You undervalued Keith Lee. Raw Underground needs to freaking die. It does. Especially if you're going to have false finishes and most times and just impromptu people just coming in all because they're already in a storyline. And you don't even get a beneficial factor other than a dumb reason to do fake shoot grudge matches for no reason. I thought it would be cooler if you guys sprung back the Lions Den match if you wanted to make this MMA style. That's literally what Ken Shamrock and Owen Hart did back at the SummerSlam '99. And at least it brought an octagonal setting. You guys could have just done it in the training facility or something. Brought back at least some semblance of an underground feud, underground feel. And you could have just made that any sort of a grudge match or title feud. I don't get it. You can't. You can make old concepts and make it work. That happens before. And there's nothing wrong with it. This show was so garbage. What is there really to focus on to even get ready for next week? Just Asuka, Mickey James. Two attractive women that are great wrestlers. For a title match, that's about it. Even though I feel like that should go for Clash of Champions, but it's babyface versus babyface. And unless they're really big superstars, no one's gonna really care about Mickey James versus Asuka. Yeah, that no disrespect. I like these guys, but I'm not gonna wait a few weeks for that on pay-per-view. They're probably gonna do Peyton Royce versus Asuka, or something. And just Retribution needs to die. At least make them part of a major invading feud or do a storyline or do something else. And I don't care about Cedric being heel. I can care less. Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax better lose those belts on Raw or something. I don't want to see them hold that until the pay-per-view. I don't care if you guys have the freaking Knockouts tag belts have more prestige than you. But that's it coming from Raw. I don't want to watch this. I don't want to remember the show again, man. I made this as long as I can to just get everything out of my chest. That's about it. I mean, I want to make this at least 8 minutes to just sum up most of what I had, but I just want to go over nearly every detail of the show. This is how mediocre it's been. But tell me how you felt about Raw, even though it's complete garbage. Your opinion matters, and even though it's destructive or constructive, it's any source of trying to make, uh, different perspectives. And that's what I always love in the comment section. That's it coming from me. Thanks for watching.